proud to join Vice President Biden here for the occasion to once again say, happy birthday, Congressman Stanton. We all got to say that periodically, right? Pretty soon he's not going to want to have anyone know that it's his birthday. So may as well say it while we can. And actually, I think we all understand why we're really here. We're here because, at least I know Vice President Harris and I are here because you came and you are here. We're here and we care because you care. We will fight because we know you will fight. And this is, and by the way, was President Biden in a fighting mood last night? We are in this together. We are in this together, protecting your access to medication abortion, all the way to the Supreme Court. We are here together, protecting your right to contraception care. We are here together, protecting your right to privacy, whether you are a patient or a provider. We are here together, protecting your right to emergency care. Because regardless of why you found yourself in emergency, when you get to that hospital ER room, you're entitled to the care that keeps you stable and alive, including abortion care. We're here enforcing the requirements that health insurance plans and pharmacies ensure that you are given the care you're entitled to. And that includes contraception care with zero out-of-pocket costs to you. And we're going to make sure we enforce that right that you have. We're going to be sure to work with you, to inform you that you have rights. Regardless of what state you're in this country, you have rights. And you should know where you can access the care that you need. And that's why we established reproductiverights.com, so you know where you can go to get the information you need to protect your rights. We do all of this because we know that, well, women and doctors are facing risks and threats to their life, to their well-being. We know that a 10-year-old rape victim must leave her home and her state to receive the abortion care she needs. We know that there are tens of thousands of women and girls who are raped and become pregnant, who live in states that will deny them the abortion care they need. We know that there are doctors like Carolina Reyes, my wife, who is a high-risk OBGYN, that before she can dispense her medical opinion, today she wonders if she has to consult legal opinion about the care that she will deliver. We're here because we know that there are medical students who are choosing not to establish their practices in states, sometimes their home state, that attack reproductive rights and health, leaving women in those states with even less care than they have today. And we do this because our daughters, my 3 daughters, today have fewer rights than their mothers. Poet Robert Frost once said, "How many things have to happen to you before something finally occurs to you?" The eyes of the nation are on Arizona. What more must happen to us here and throughout America before it occurs to us that we have the power to stop this madness, that we have the power to restore those rights to my 3 daughters, your daughters, to all of our daughters? What more do we need to have happen to us before we recognize that the right to health care is not something a politician can take from us, because we know what's best for our bodies, we know what decisions to make, because we will consult with the physician, our clergy, whomever we wish to help us make decisions. But that right belongs to us. So we're not waiting. President Biden, Vice President Harris, we at the Department of Health and Human Services, we're not waiting. We're in this to fight with you, to protect the rights to access the health care that you need, not just for you, but for all Americans. We're here to make sure that that includes abortion care, contraception care, in vitro fertilization care, you name it, we're here to fight. That's why we're here today in Phoenix, because you came, we come. You fight, we will fight. And when you win, we will be right there with you. Thank you all very much.
Please welcome Planned Parenthood of Arizona President and CEO, Angela Flores.
Good afternoon, Phoenix. I'm delighted to be here. My name is Angela Flores, and I am a proud Arizonan born right here in Phoenix and raised in Holbrook, a little small town up in northern Arizona. I consider myself an example of what the opportunity our state provides. I went to Holbrook Public Schools, home of the Roadrunners. Meet me. After high school, I lived at home while attending a local community college to stretch our family's resources a little bit further before moving here to Phoenix to attend Arizona State University. Go Devils! I've spent my life working in every corner of our beautiful state, collaborating with stakeholders to increase opportunity, access, and visibility for marginalized communities. I started my career in public service working for the Girl Scouts, the very same council in which I was a Brownie and a Junior Scout. That led me to a seat in the Hispanic Leadership Institute, a program that allowed me to join local Latino leaders in understanding the issues impacting communities throughout our state. And that foundation helped me understand that as a Latina leader, I had a unique opportunity to create more seats at tables where decisions were being made on behalf of our communities. That experience really helped me focus my career solely on public service, specifically in healthcare, where I joined Valle del Sol Community Health for nearly a decade. I worked on advancing health equity and addressing the social determinants of health in the Latino community. During those years, I learned from our patients that economic prosperity is deeply tied to access to quality health care, especially for young women. And that's led me to where I am today, the new, just 1 month in, President and CEO of Planned Parenthood Arizona. Thank you. Before joining as a staff member, I spent 7 years volunteering at Planned Parenthood Arizona. But most importantly, I've been a patient at Planned Parenthood for over 20 years. I'm still a patient. What I've learned from my time as a patient and volunteer is something that you here already know. Choosing when and if you want to parent is the single most critical decision that impacts your socioeconomic future. And just as many of you here today, I too have people in my life whom I love dearly who were unable to make that choice simply due to accessibility, and it changed the trajectory of their lives. Today, millions have had that ability to make that decision for themselves taken away. The overturning of Roe v. Wade was a dark and heavy day, and it required abortion care to pause in our state for far too long. But in these darkest moments, we also found glimmers of light. It has been our providers at Planned Parenthood Arizona who have remained a positive force to reckon with. They've worked around the clock to meet Arizonans' increasing demands for long-acting forms of contraceptions, inserting IUDs for patients who worry that short-term birth control methods could be targeted next. One recent example really stood out to me. Our chief medical officer performed an abortion for a patient who had to drive hours and hours across several states with her small children in the back seat just to get to our health center. Arizonans know it is well past time to protect access to abortion in our state. I see it every day in the high fives from strangers, in the yard signs across town, and in really the widespread community support for our abortion patients and providers. We are in a critical moment for reproductive freedom in Arizona. We are currently awaiting a decision from the Arizona Supreme Court. That decision will determine whether or not a cruel, near-total ban on abortion can be enforced in our state. But we all know that pre-statehood laws should not be dictating our reproductive freedom and how we live our lives today. Arizonans want and deserve the freedom to make our own decisions about our reproductive health. And President Biden and Vice President Harris know this. That's why they've been fighting for us. Simply put, they've been relentless in their pursuit to protect access to sexual and reproductive health care in the face of state restrictions on abortion imposed after the fall of Roe. And as I look out and see all of you here with such a strong showing of support, this really is an incredible moment. It's certainly not something on little Angela's life bingo card. I never thought I would be introducing the Vice President of the United States. But to do so in my home state, a state I've never left, and a state I deeply love, at this moment, and with this Vice President, it is an honor and privilege to introduce a longtime champion in the fight for reproductive freedom. Someone who has fought for women across America as a district attorney, attorney general, senator, and now the first woman in history to be elected Vice President of the United States. So everyone, please make some noise and join me in giving a loud and proud Arizona welcome to our Vice President, Kamala Harris.
Good to be back in Arizona. We will get 4 more years, won't we? I want to thank President Flores for her incredible work And of course, the words, I just said to her, I thank her for stepping up to serve at this moment in the history of our country, because these truly are challenging times. And for all the leaders who are here, the courage that you show every day to do this work is extraordinary. And you do this work on behalf of people we may never meet and people who may never know our names. But because of your advocacy and your fight, they will forever be benefited. So I thank everyone here for your leadership, and all the extraordinary leaders who are here, including Secretary Becerra, who is here, your mayor, Kate Gallego. I have to tell you, she's so wonderful. She met me on the tarmac as I landed at Air Force Two, and she's been talking with me about all the work, all the good work that she's doing here. I thank you, Mayor. Congressman Greg Stanton is here, a powerful voice for this city, and in particular on the issue of public transit and water infrastructure. And by the way, today's his birthday. Yes, okay, so we all wished him a happy birthday. And of course, my dear friend Ruben Gallego wanted to be here today, the congressman. I saw him last night in Washington at the President's State of the Union. I've known him for a while, and I have to say that the congressman, he is a tireless fighter for the people and the families of Arizona. So we are thinking of him, and he has been a true leader, a national leader to the President and me in terms of his advice and friendship. I also want to thank all the organizers in Arizona who are collecting signatures to uphold one of our nation's highest ideals. Thank you all. This makes a huge difference. And of course, you are fighting for the ideal of freedom. 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 It is fundamental to the promise of America. Freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom of assembly, and the freedom to vote. And in America, freedom is not to be given. It is not to be bestowed. It is ours by right. And that, of course, includes the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, not the government telling people what to do. So 51 years ago, in the case of Roe v. Wade, the United States Supreme Court recognized the fundamental constitutional right to reproductive freedom. However, almost 2 years ago, the highest court in our land, the Court of Thurgood and RBG, took a constitutional right that had been recognized from the people of America, from the women of America. And now we must speak of Roe in the past tense. In states across our nation, extremists have proposed and passed laws that criminalize doctors and punish women. Laws that threaten doctors and nurses with prison time, even for life, simply for providing health care. Laws like those in Arizona that make no exception even for rape or incest. Now, as many of you know, I started my career as a prosecutor specializing in crimes of violence against women and children. What you may not know is why. So when I was in high school, my best friend, I learned, was being molested by her stepfather. And so I said to her, look, you've got to come stay with us. I called my mother, and my mother said, absolutely, she has to come stay with us, and she did. So the idea that someone who survives a crime of violence to their body, a violation of their body, would then be told they don't have the authority to make a decision about what happens to their body next, that is immoral. That is immoral. And today, of course, in some states, extremists even attack the freedom to use IVF treatment. Women and couples denied the ability to fulfill their dream of having a child. And please let us consider the irony. On the one hand, these extremists tell women they do not have the freedom to end an unwanted pregnancy, and on the other hand, these extremists tell women they don't have the freedom to start a family. Let us all agree, one does not have to abandon Let us all agree. Let us all agree. One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government should not be telling her what to do with her body. And this is, in fact, a healthcare crisis. There is nothing hypothetical about this moment. Today in America, 1 in 3 women of reproductive age live in a state with an abortion ban. 1 in 3 women of reproductive age. And that number is even higher for Latinas. 40% of Latinas live in a state where abortion is banned, including right here in Arizona, where extremist legislators passed an abortion ban with no exception for rape or incest. And right now, other extremists, as you have heard and know, are in court trying to bring back a law from 1864 that would completely ban abortion in Arizona. 1864. Understand, 1864? Before women had the right to vote, before women could own property, before Arizona was even admitted as a state. Look, these extremists, they're trying to take women back to the 1800s, but we're not going to let them. We're not going to let them. We are not going to let them. And let us understand the impact of laws like these, since Roe was overturned, have created a horrific reality that women in our country are facing every single day. It is not without harm to real people that this has happened. You know, I've met women who had miscarriages in toilets because they were refused care. I met a woman who went to the emergency room during a miscarriage and was turned away repeatedly because the doctors there were afraid they might be put in jail for giving her care. And it was only when she developed sepsis that they administered care. And consider that the majority of women in America are mothers who have abortions. The majority are mothers. So if she lives in a state with an abortion ban and needs to travel to receive care, God help her if she does not have paid leave or affordable child care, or the savings necessary to buy a bus, train, or plane ticket to get where she can receive support and help. And by the way, these extremists say they're motivated by the health and well-being of women and children, while they are silent on the issue of maternal mortality. That in connection with childbirth, women in America die at a higher rate than any women in a wealthy nation around the world. The issue of maternal mortality, and they've been silent on that, and all of a sudden they are the great defenders of women and children. Consider on the issue of maternal mortality that Black women are 3 times as likely to die in connection with pregnancy, Native women twice as likely, rural women 1.5 times as likely. And the top 10 states with the highest rates of maternal mortality all have abortion bans, including Arizona. The hypocrisy abounds. And the reality, in real time, across our country, is that for every story we hear, there are so many that we do not. Today, an untold number of women are silently suffering. Women who are being subjected to profound judgment, women who are being made to feel as though they did something wrong, as though they should be embarrassed, as though they are alone. So to these women, I say, we see you, and we are here with you, and we are always going to stand by you. You are not alone. And in this health care crisis, then, please do understand who is to blame. The former President, Donald Trump, handpicked 3 members of the United States Supreme Court because he intended for them to overturn Roe. He intended for them to take your freedoms. And he brags about it. He said that for years they were, quote, trying to get rid of Roe v. Wade, trying to have it terminated. And then he said, quote, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it. He is proud. Proud that women across our nation are suffering. Proud that doctors and nurses could be thrown in prison for administering care. Proud that young women today have fewer rights than their mothers and grandmothers. How dare he? So let us understand, the former president is the architect of this healthcare crisis. And the extremists are not done. In the United States Congress, extremists tried to pass a national abortion ban to outlaw abortion in every single state. But what they need to know is that if Congress passes a national abortion ban, President Joe Biden will veto it. Because here's the deal. We trust women. We trust women to know what is in their own best interest. And women trust us to fight to protect their most fundamental freedoms. And it's going to take all of us. It is going to take all of us. Joe Biden and I are fighting in court to protect women's access to medication and emergency care. We have worked to make sure medical records stay between a doctor and his or her patient. We have protected the right of women to travel between states for abortion care, and we are fighting for access to free contraception. But here's the bottom line. As President Biden made clear last night in the State of the Union, to truly protect reproductive freedoms, we must restore the protections of Roe. What the United States Supreme Court took, Congress can put back in place. So we must have a majority of members in Congress who simply agree, regardless of their personal beliefs for themselves or their family, who just simply agree that the government should not be making these personal decisions for other people. That's the bottom line. And when Congress passes a law that restores reproductive freedoms and the reproductive freedoms of Roe, Joe Biden will sign it into law. So, in conclusion, I will repeat, it is going to take all of us. It is going to take all of us to get there. And momentum is on our side. Since Roe was overturned, every time reproductive freedom has been on the ballot, every time, 22, 23, every time reproductive freedom has been on the ballot, the people of America have voted for freedom. From Kansas to California to Kentucky, in Michigan, Montana, Vermont, and Ohio, the people of America voted for freedom by overwhelming margins. And by the way, that also makes a different point, which is this is not a partisan issue. It's not a partisan issue. In red states and blue, tens of millions of Americans marched to the polls, and the voice then of the people has been heard, and it will be heard. So in conclusion, I ask today, Arizona, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we trust women? Do we believe in reproductive freedom? Do we believe in the promise of America? Are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Thank you all.